Some of the people that suffered most for freedom in America these past 4 years were those who were rotting, locked up in jail cells across America. They, on January 6, 2021, showed up to express their constitutional rights. Joe, in particular, Joe Thomas, was sentenced to nearly 5 years in prison and was among 80 Ohioans among the hundreds who were convicted and awaiting trial for taking part in that rally. Joe found himself in the midst of the rally and was later sentenced to nearly 5 years in prison. While in prison, and this is why we want to highlight this, because these people, we're not going to forget them. Elections are over, yes. These people were heroes, especially how they endured. You've seen the videos online, which have been kind of silenced and put aside. These grown men, these elderly people praying the scriptures together and then singing the national anthem every night. We played that last year, remember? Justice for All at the beginning of this event. Well, there's an individual who had a key part in getting that national anthem going in prisons across our country, as some of America's finest were in there. Joe launched the Sing for Freedom movement, which rallied J6 victims and their families to sing the national anthem every night to keep the flame of hope and patriotism alive. And alive, they kept it. But in January 2025, President Donald Trump, our great president, in one of his first official acts in his second term, pardoned those convicted or waiting trial. I would like to call to the stage, yes, Joe, so you can hear the witness that he had of the power of prayer and how Jesus Christ got him through this scenario and every other situation he's faced. Let's welcome Joe Thomas.
Thank you for this experience, God, that we may get to grow and have a chance to become better men.
Prosecutors are arguing for an especially long sentence for crimes they're calling domestic terrorism.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. No pardon.
I tell you what, folks, Trump said it best when he came into office. America is back, baby. And it's mutual. God bless you all. I'll tell you what, this is surreal. I went from prison to Palm Beach in less than 2 months. The American spirit is alive. In 2016, the Biden administration ran their campaign saying that we were fighting for the soul of America. They're not getting our soul, folks. And they stole that election, so I went to the Capitol. I never denied that. But I never went into the building. I was not violent. I actually stopped violence. I was screaming, no violence, trying to stop both police brutality and the overzealous crowd. It's a setup, the whole deal. You guys know the story about January 6th, and believe me, there's gonna be a lot more coming out. I promise you. This is the day that we can restore our country and go back to our consecrated means to be, as John Winthrop so elegantly said, that shining city on a hill. The world recognizes it. Brother Yep said about my Sing for Freedom campaign, I truly can't take credit for it because the guys that were arrested in January and the months following, when they went into the DC jail, they were held and confined in horrible conditions. So one of those J6ers decided to start singing the national anthem to annoy the guards and protest their conditions. Gotta love the American spirit. But it resonated with the other inmates, and they started to sing it with one another, to stand in solidarity, to unify behind their closed doors of solitary confinement. When I was arrested in May of 2021, I was hit with felonies and all kinds of craziness, but I was awarded bond. And I really couldn't understand why. There were guys in DC that were being denied bond, held, clear criminal records, basic little misdemeanors are what they're being held on. But here I am, troubled past, looking at felony time for January 6th, and here I am standing with my family. So as a man of faith, I prayed to God and I asked, why? And then I heard about them singing the anthem in D.C., and that moved me, and God whispered in that small, still voice that we all hear within our hearts and said, this is it. I grew up in a patriotic family. I served my nation. And so I believe in the American spirit, that we band together in times of adversity. So I called on that American spirit, and also stubbornly, because I tend to be a bit rebellious, said, well, I'm going to get my practice in because I'm headed to prison, so I'll start singing with them. So I went on my porch. I started singing the anthem every night. My neighbor came by and asked what I was doing. I explained it to her. In shock, she silently left, and there I stand in my driveway thinking, great, now my neighbor thinks I'm a terrorist. But as I continued my stubbornness to sing every night, I heard her and her 12-year-old son singing with me. Whew. That hits. I wanted them to feel that. I wanted them in isolation to know that they were not alone, that a nation backed them. I wanted their families to know that America stands in solidarity with those that are being politically persecuted. So I asked all of you to stand and sing the anthem, which was born in the days of fighting for political prisoners and lasted on the shoulders of giants and heroes like many of ours that have gone before. And so, Sing for Freedom was born, and it blew up like wildfire. Sorry, not sorry, but it even interrupted Trump at a couple of his rallies. And it made an impact. It bound together a nation. Thomas Jefferson once said, a little rebellion is a good thing. Or excuse me, a little rebellion now and then is a good thing. The rebellion of them in jail, the rebellion of the American people to say, our soul is not for sale. The rebellion of all of you faith leaders in here who have been under the microscope of the oppressors that we have finally defeated. On November 5th, we the people spoke. I am we the people. You are we the people. And it made a difference to bring President Trump back into this country. I did my court fight out on bond. I was very public and loud about it, even though my attorneys, my wife, my family said, please stop talking. You're going to hurt your case. But I know that God told me to speak, and I wasn't going to stop until then. I went to jail, I went through court, show trials, kangaroo all the way. But as I sat in prison, I understood that we were there for God's purposes, and that one day I will be free, even if it is at the end of my 5-year sentence. I wrote a letter to Trump, and I will end on this. While I was in jail, ministering, spreading the word, bringing people to Christ, helping to reform the religious services that they had within there, to where it went from 20 people in the church at any given time to 120 standing room only and drawing attention from the warden. Baptisms galore. It was beautiful. But I wrote a letter to him and said, I did not go to the Capitol for you specifically. I went on my own accord because I wanted to honor the oath that I swore in the military. I was facing 30 years. And because of God's grace, I was sentenced to 5. And God used Trump's pen to open up those gates after a year. And here I stand before you. My wife and my 4 kids are extremely thankful for the fight, the resilience, and the resolve for every American person that stood, spoke truth in the face of our oppressors. And for that, I'm extremely thankful. But I don't want you to remember me, my name, or anything that I have done. I want you to remember that as Christ stood in the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he stands with all of us as we look at our oppressors in the face and say, enough is enough, because Christ is our king and Trump is our president. We're going to make America great again. God bless you.